Okay, let's say now we are given a problem to say now we are given a complex number z is equals to a complex number that is written, let's say, in a polar form. Let's say we have 6 and angle here is 20 degrees. Okay, and then now we have to find a z to the power of 3. Okay, so what you have to do, you're gonna do what? You're gonna have to cube everything here. Remember, what you do on your left, you also do on your right. So everything is cubed. But now when everything is cubed here, this exponent here, it will be the exponent of the number, so it's going to be 6 cubed. But then this exponent will multiply with the angle inside the angle here. So it's going to be 3 times 20. So your z cubed, it will be how much? Let's say 6 cubed. 6 cubed is how much? Is 216, and then the angle it will be 60 degrees. Okay, let me make another example. Let's say, for example, we are given complex to say now complex is equals to 4, and then it has an angle of 50, and then they say you must find the complex squared. So remember, the squared, it will have to square everything. And when you square everything, so the coefficient here must be squared, so it's going to be 4 squared, but then the angle here, it must be multiplied with the exponent, which is 2. So it's going to be 2 times 50 degrees. And then the answer that you get, 4 squared, is going to be 16, and then 2 multiplied by 50 is 100 degrees. Okay, so let's say now you are given a problem to say now you must express this problem in a polar form, but it's given in a rectangular form. To say now you have a 2 plus j 5 all to the power of 4. Okay, so the question says now you must express this in a what? In a polar form, and then you must also draw an Argand diagram for this problem. Okay, so what you will first do, you will consider what is inside here, because we know now if ever we have a polar form, we will be able to put the power here, the exponent, to the resultant, and then we multiply with the angle. So first thing here, we must convert what is inside here to polar form. So how do we convert this thing here to polar form? We first find what? The resultant. So the resultant squared, it will be what? The real part squared, which is 2, plus the imaginary part, which is 5. And then we just find the value of r by introducing the square root on both sides. So it's going to be square root of 2 squared plus 5 squared. So the answer is going to be square root of 29. Seems like I'm choosing wrong numbers, but yeah, I hope it makes sense. So the square root is going to be what? Is going to the resultant, it will be square root of 29. So remember, we must also find what? The angle, so that we can represent it as a polar form. So when we find the angle, because we already have the real part and the imaginary part, we can use a tangent of theta to say now our tangent of theta is going to be equals to what? Opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. And then we know our opposite side is what? Is on the y-axis, and on the y-axis is imaginary number. So it's going to be 5 all divided by what? Adjacent side, which is now 2. And then now that means our theta is going to be what? Second function tangent. Okay, So if ever the angle inside the tangent is positive, that means the answer that you get here is the real angle. But if it is negative, remember we said we're gonna find what? We're gonna find where actually the angle is, and then to check if we have to add 180, subtract 180, or whatever stuff that we have to do. But now if ever is positive inside the bracket, you just write the angle as it is. So the angle is gonna be let me just say second function tangent of 5 over 2. So the angle is going to be 68.2 degrees. Okay. So now this means now we have what? We have inside our bracket, we have what? We have square root of 29 with an angle of how much? 668.2 all to the power of 4. Okay, so when we simplify, remember when you simplify here, it's much easier if ever it is actually in a polar form. So we'll just have to what to say square root of 29 all to the power of 4, and then here on the angle we just multiply. We say is 4 multiplied by 68.2. So now we find to say now let me square root of 29 all to the power of 4 is equals to how much? Is equals to 841. So we just write 841, and then inside here we just say 4 multiplied by 68.2, which is gonna be 272.8 degrees. Okay, so now it will be the actual polar form of this problem. So if ever we have this actual polar form, remember we can plot it on our arc diagram and also convert it to a rectangular form. So just erase this part here to say now we have the actual value of the problem, and then we written it as a polar form. So now we have to represent it on an arc diagram. So we plot our arc diagram to say now, our arc diagram is going to be like this. Okay. So now the angle is how much? Is 278. So 278, it will be in which quadrant? It will be in the fourth quadrant. Remember here is 0, is 90, is 180, and then this is 270, and then this is 360. So we know now our angle is going to be what? It's going to be here on the fourth quadrant, and then it has the resultant of how much? The resultant, the R is equals to 841. Yeah? But now we also know the angle here, the angle which is how much? You can represent the angle that way, and then you say the angle is 272.8 degrees. Okay, so now after we have drawn our resultant and the angle, we can find what? We can now find the components of the resultant, which is going to be the imaginary part and the real part. So remember this here is a right angle triangle, and then we have the angle. So the imaginary part is going to be B, and then the real part is going to be A. So if ever we have to find this and then we write it into as a rectangular form, remember we will say what? We will say our A, which is real part, it will always have to be cos. Okay? So it's going to be the value of the resultant, which is 841, cos of how much? Cos of the angle, which is 272.8, plus what? Plus J 8, which is the resultant, 841, sine of the angle, which is 272.8. 2.8. Okay, then now you just put everything onto your calculator. It's 8 for a cos of 272.8, and then we get 41.08, and then here let's put sine, then we say sine m is gonna be what? It's gonna be negative j 834. We can just say 840. So let me rise and round off. So when you round off, it's gonna be 840. Okay, so that is how we represent it as a rectangular form.